began with a whisper. We found it buried in the background noise of the universe. It was a signal hiding between the hiss of dead stars. At first, we thought it was just a ghost, an echo of a long-dead pulsar, perhaps. But it was too perfect, too structured. It was ancient beyond all our understanding. Our oldest star science suggested it was older than our galaxy. It was a fossil made of math, a message from a time before the first suns ignited. And yet, for all its structure, it was silent. There was no message we could find, no greeting from the stars. We pointed every sensor we had at the source. We pored over the data for generations. The signal never changed its quiet rhythm. It was a constant, haunting hum beneath reality. A secret the universe was telling itself. We just happened to be listening in. We thought finding it would change everything overnight. It did not. It just gave us a beautiful, maddening question. A question that would echo in our halls of science. It would drive our best minds to the edge of reason. What was the universe trying to tell us? The signal was not a simple hello. It was not a map to some star-born treasure. It was a labyrinth made of pure information. Every layer we peeled back revealed 10 more, each one more complex than the last. We thought we were code breakers. This signal made us feel like children. We threw all our logic at the problem. Our greatest computers churned on the data for decades. They found patterns inside of patterns. They found symmetries that defied known physics. But they never found a key. They never found a meaning. It was a lock with no keyhole. Some called it the Great Filter in its purest form. A puzzle so complex it would occupy a species forever. A beautiful distraction to keep us from the stars. A few even said it was a divine message, a thing not meant for mortal minds to comprehend. They might have been right. For 100 years, we failed. The signal remained a perfect enigma. It offered us the secrets of the cosmos. But it refused to speak our language. It was a beautiful and maddening puzzle box, and we had no idea how to open it. Our quest for answers had only given us more questions. Our greatest minds admitted defeat. They declared the signal to be random in a way we could not grasp. A complex but ultimately meaningless cosmic accident. They told us to give up and look away. But humanity does not look away easily. When our minds failed us, we turned to something else. We turned to our hearts. A young data analyst was the first. She was tired of looking at the numbers. So she converted a data stream into sound. She was not expecting to find anything. She just wanted to hear what a billion-year-old puzzle sounded like. What she heard changed our destiny. It was music. It was a symphony of impossible complexity and grace. The patterns our computers could not decipher became melodies. The strange symmetries became harmonies that resonated deep in our souls. The signal was not a message for the mind. It was a message for the spirit. This was the birth of signal artistry. We stopped trying to decode the data. We started to interpret it instead. We turned the data streams into paintings of swirling light. We sculpted the mathematical constants into statues. We wrote poetry from the repeating waveforms. We found the ghost in the machine. Our science had failed to unlock the puzzle box. So our art became the key. It was a language we never expected to learn. A language of feeling, not of fact. For the first time, we were not just listening to the signal. We were finally starting to understand it. The universe was not a riddle. It was a song. The art we created was more than just beautiful. It contained a new kind of truth. The symphonies we composed were not just music. They were blueprints for a new physics. The swirling patterns in our paintings were not just pretty. They were schematics for impossible engines. Our new art inspired a new kind of science. A scientist saw a sculpture based on the signal's core equation. He realized the curves were not just artistic. They represented a way to fold space-time. He saw a way to travel between the stars. It was an idea born from a feeling, not a calculation. The first star drive was born from a symphony. We learned to translate the harmonies into vibrational frequencies. Our ships learned to sing the signal's song, and when they sang, the universe bent around them. Space itself became an instrument we could play. We could travel light years in the time it took to listen to a song. It was the single greatest leap in our history. We had spent centuries looking up at the stars. Now, we could finally reach them. And it was all because we stopped trying to think our way out. We started to feel our way forward instead. The universe rewarded our strange new faith. Our art had given us the keys to the cosmos. Our new ships were works of art themselves. Their hulls were etched with the signal's patterns. Their engines hummed with its ancient melody. We were not just explorers anymore. We were pilgrims following a sacred sound. We were chasing a ghost note across the galaxy. Our destination was the signal's source, a point in the sky so ancient and distant. It existed in a void between galactic clusters, a place our old telescopes saw as empty. We now knew it was anything but empty. It was the home of the composer, the artist who wrote the Song of the Stars. The journey took years. Even with our new drives, we traveled through breathtaking star fields. We saw wonders we had only ever dreamed about. But our focus never wavered from our goal. The signal was our guide, our pillar of fire in the cosmic night. It pulled us onward with a promise of revelation. We felt a strange mix of excitement and reverence. What kind of beings could create such a thing? What gods had painted the universe with mathematics and music? We felt like we were approaching a holy place. We were about to meet our makers. We could not have been more wrong. The source was in a region of absolute blackness, a patch of sky where no stars shone. Our ships dropped out of folded space into a silent darkness. Our sensors told us we had arrived, but there was nothing here to see, only a deeper kind of emptiness. Then they appeared. Dozens of ships materialized from the void. They were not like ours. They were ancient, silent, and immense. They looked like great stones worn smooth by time. They surrounded us without a word. They radiated an aura of immense age and sorrow. A channel opened. A voice spoke in our minds, not with words, but with pure concepts. It was the voice of an elder race. They called themselves the Watchers. They had been in this dark place for longer than our sun had been alive. And they were not happy to see us. They told us they had seen species like ours before, young, bright, and full of foolish curiosity. They had watched us follow the song across the galaxy. They had hoped we would turn back. They had hoped we would be wiser than the others. But we had come all the way to the end of the line. They were stoic and patient. But beneath their calm, we could feel a deep and profound fear, a fear that chilled us to our core. They were not guardians of a sacred place. They were prison guards, and we had just walked up to the wall of the galaxy's most dangerous cell. The elders showed us the truth. They opened our minds to their ancient memories. They let us see the signal for what it truly was. It was not a message. It was not a work of art. It was a cage. The beautiful, complex data was nothing more than the bars of a prison. A prison built on a scale that defied imagination. The elegant mathematics we had worshipped, it was the formula for the lock. The beautiful symphonies our art was based on. It was the sound of the prisoner rattling its cage. The glorious patterns were warnings. Every note was a scream of terror, translated by cosmic distance into a whisper. The prisoner was a thing from outside our universe, an entity of uncreation and silent hunger. The elders called it the static. It did not think or feel as we did. It only consumed. It had devoured entire galaxies before their ancestors had trapped it. They had built this cage of pure reality around it. The elders had sacrificed their own evolution to become its wardens. They had stood watch over the silent darkness for eons. Their one and only purpose was to keep the cage sealed. They begged us to understand. The art we had created, the star drives we had built, were all based on the monster's nature. We had learned to sing the chaos song. They pleaded with us to stop. They told us to dismantle our ships. They urged us to erase every piece of signal artistry, to forget the music that had brought us to the stars. They said our art was a dangerous resonance, a key that could slowly unlock the ancient prison. We were waking the monster by admiring its cage. We looked at our ships, humming with the power of our songs. We thought of the art that had unified our world, the beauty that had lifted us from our cradle. It was the greatest achievement in human history. They were asking us to deny our very soul. They were asking us to become as silent and fearful as they were. We made a choice. It was a choice born of pride. It was a choice born of faith in ourselves. We thanked the elders for their warning. We honored their long and lonely vigil. But we refused their request. We told them our art was ours. The legends we had built were ours to keep. We told them we would not live in fear. We would not abandon the gift the universe had given us, even if that gift came from a dark place. We believed we could control it. We believed the beauty we had found was real. It was not just an echo of some cosmic horror. It was a reflection of us. It was humanity's defiant choice. Our decision sent a shockwave through our civilization. When the news reached home, our species fractured. Many were horrified by what we had learned. They saw the elders' warning as a dire prophecy. They saw our art as a terrible curse. They formed factions that demanded we stop. They called themselves the Quietists. They argued that we were playing with a fire that would burn the galaxy, that our pride would be our undoing. They protested our starships. They smashed works of signal art. They preached a return to a simpler, safer time, a time before we heard the whisper from the void. But many more of us refused to be afraid. We argued that any great power comes with great risk. The signal was a part of the universe. We could not pretend it did not exist. We had to face it. We had to understand it. We had to master it. Our path was not to run and hide. Our path was to stand and create. The debate raged for a generation. Families were torn apart. Friendships were broken. We were a species divided by faith. Faith in the caution of the elders versus faith in ourselves. In the end, the artists and the explorers won. We decided our own path was the right one. We would face the music. We did not dismiss the elders' warning entirely. We understood the danger was real. The static was a terrifying concept, a prisoner of immense and terrible power. But we did not believe that retreat was the answer. We did not seek to open the ancient cage. We chose a third option. We decided to reinforce the prison. The elders were wardens, but they were stagnant. They only watched and waited. They had never tried to understand the cage itself. We had. We had turned its structure into our art. We understood the prison's mechanics better than its own guards. We knew the song of the bars. Our great project began. We sent fleets of our new ships back to the source, not with weapons, but with instruments. Our greatest signal artists and star scientists worked together. They composed new symphonies. These songs were designed to resonate with the prison structure. They were meant to strengthen the cage. We learned how to weave new bars of reality. We used our star drives to add layers of folded space-time to the walls. We broadcasted our music into the void, a symphony of order against the chaos within. It was an act of incredible hubris. We were trying to teach the wardens how to do their job better, a job they had been doing for 1 billion years. The elders watched us, silent and aghast. Our actions did not go unnoticed by the prisoner. For eons, the static had been a quiet pressure against its walls, a patient, slow, and mindless force. But our symphony, our act of reinforcing the cage, disturbed its slumber. We were interacting with its prison in a new way. We were a new variable in an ancient equation. The signal began to change. The clean, pure whisper we had first heard became distorted. It was filled with static and dissonance. The beautiful harmonies fractured into ugly, jarring noise. The patterns we had loved began to decay. The cosmic hum was becoming a shriek. The static was beginning to scream. A wave of something new started to leak from the prison. It was not energy or matter. Our sensors could barely detect it. It was a wave of uncreation, a ripple of wrongness that spread out from the source. It did not destroy things. It simply made them cease to be. A patch of space touched by the wave would just become nothing. The elders were horrified. This was their greatest fear come to life. Our meddling had weakened the cage in a way they had never anticipated. We had not broken the lock. We had made the bars vibrate with our music, and through those vibrations, the prisoner's essence was starting to leak out. The cage was failing. The news spread through the galaxy like a plague. The few other star-born species we had met reacted with terror. The story of our defiance and our failure became a cautionary tale. The elder races who had watched from afar prepared for the end. They saw the wave of nothingness expanding from the source. They saw us as the ultimate cosmic fools, a young species that had been given a clear warning, a child who had been told not to touch the fire. And we had not only touched it, we had tried to reshape it into art. We had composed a symphony on a doomsday weapon. In their eyes, our final end was not just certain, it was deserved. The elders positioned their great stone ships, not to fight, but to witness our demise. They believed our system would be the first to be erased. They would watch as a monument to our arrogance. The entire galaxy held its breath. They were all waiting for humanity to be silenced forever. But we did not panic. We did not flee. The division in our society vanished overnight. We were united by the coming threat, a threat we had unleashed ourselves. We had one last, desperate and defiant idea. We had learned to sing the song of the cage. Now, we would try to sing back the prisoner's scream. We gathered every ship we had. We built the massive broadcast arrays in orbit around our worlds. We synchronized every artist, every scientist, every single human soul. We were going to make our final stand not with weapons, but with a song. We would fight the silence with a symphony. The wave of uncreation approached our home system. It was a creeping void that consumed the light of distant stars. We could see the nothingness eating its way toward us. In response, we began our broadcast. We sent our greatest work of signal artistry out into the growing void. It was our anthem against the encroaching silence, a shield of music against the coming decay. Our symphony was a culmination of everything we had become. It contained the hope of our first discovery, the frustration of our first failures, the joy of our artistic breakthrough, the pride of our defiance. It was the story of humanity, written in the language of the stars. We poured all of our spirit into that final broadcast. The effect was immediate and astonishing. The wave of nothingness stopped. Our music did not just block the approaching terror. It washed over the uncreation. It filled the void with its structure and its harmony. The formless chaos met a form it had never encountered before. It met a deliberate and passionate pattern. Our song began to change the static. The scream of the prisoner was a chaotic, mindless noise. Our symphony was its exact opposite. It was a force of pure creation and intent. The two forces met, and a new thing was born. Our song did not destroy the chaos. It gave the formless horror a brand new shape. The wave of nothingness began to resonate with our music. It started to form patterns. Swirling eddies of new reality appeared where there had been only void. The uncreation was being tamed. We were teaching the ancient nothingness how to sing. We were turning its scream into a harmony. We were not just its warden. We were becoming its composer. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. The wave of erasure that was meant to consume us had become a canvas. And on that canvas, humanity was painting a new masterpiece. The void was blooming with intricate structures of light and sound. The threat was not just neutralized. It was transformed into something beautiful. We had faced the ultimate cosmic horror. And we had not just survived. We had harmonized with it. We turned a galactic warning into our species' anthem. The lost signal, the monster's cage, became the cradle of our power. We had found a song in the dark, and we had taught the darkness how to sing it back to us. The elders looked on, their ancient stoicism shattered. They had spent eons as fearful guards. We had become partners with the force they had imprisoned. We became something new in the galaxy that day. Not destroyers, not conquerors. We became artists. We became conductors of reality itself. We became the new legends,